Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. We're talking Lord of the Rings, Episode 3, Adar. I'm here with Cousin Cheeto. How you doing, mate?
Doing good. Here to talk about Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power.
Yeah. Now, it's safe to say, in my opinion, that maybe things are starting to improve a little bit. Watching this episode, I felt a little bit more on board. The first couple of episodes, like most shows, when it comes to starting off, it's feeling itself out. It's setting up things, setting up characters, giving you an idea of these characters, and then hopefully after that, with the next episode, that they can start progressing more with the plot. And I found this episode to be a far more enjoyable. We had a large portion of this episode in Numenor, which is an island off the coast of Middle Earth, and it was a very beautiful place. I want to talk about that in a little bit, but we also went back to the Harfoots, maybe like in the latter half of this episode as well, and saw how they operate as a society, which is not too cool, considering they seem to be very unified, but at the same time, they could be assholes to you, which is a bit weird. And we also came across let me just remind myself of his name, Arendir, also known by the fandom Menace Brigade as the Black Elf. Him and some of his colleagues who have been taken prisoner by some orcs digging some trenches gave me a bit of a World War I vibe. But regardless, digging some trenches for them because they are obviously planning something or building something, and they're basically enslaved. So that was pretty much the basis of this episode. How did you find the episode so far, Cheetah?
I really enjoyed the trenches parts. I really enjoyed kind of seeing the orcs finally. As I said at the last review at the end of episode 2, I was truly terrified by the orcs. Which I mean, like they're in Lord of the Rings, the movies, they're kind of a big joke. Are the orcs in this? It kind of feels they actually feel menacing. The Urukai are more that feel menacing in the movies, but in this, they actually felt the orcs themselves felt very menacing. I did enjoy that. They do kind of prove the orcs kind of prove their savagery. We did find out maybe people knew in last week's episode. I did not know, but I found out in this episode that the Southlands are the starting point of Mordor, because if you
Yeah,
kind of look at the landscape, so that also I'm like, ooh, because I think I even said last week I want to see like where Mordor was originally. So, and guess what? That's where they're at right now. They're starting to kind of build their foundation for Mordor to begin. Um, so I mean, they're definitely building up. I hope they don't really do the battle for Middle Earth that was at the beginning of the movies Lord of the Rings. By the end of the first season, I think that would be stupid. I think that should be at the end of the fifth season. I feel like this should really be a build up over time to that big climactic battle. Um, how many? I can't remember how many episodes are in a season. Is it 10 episodes or eight
eight
episodes?
eight
But yeah,
episodes, and there'll
definitely
be
we
five
can't have that
seasons.
final battle in the end of the first 8 episodes. It's got to be at the end of at least a couple seasons. Um, we did get to that part was probably my favorite, is kind of watching that dynamic with the elves and the orcs and everything like that. Um, One of the other things is we got to see a seal duel, the one who will become the human king by that battle.
Not just him, but also his father as well, who was also at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, who got killed by Sauron, and then Isildur immediately became king, and
Mm-hmm.
then he cut his fingers off. So both Isildur and his father
Yeah.
are at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, and so yeah, it's weird because are they like the first kings of Gondor, but it feels a bit wrong if they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. With the island stuff, I was a bit put off by all that. Galadriel just seemed very aggressive, and I get that she's like laser focused and on a path, but at the same time, the humans there just seem a bit stuck up and kind of like they seem
Arrogant.
like, yeah, arrogant. Like they seem like the Americans of this, of this show. Oh,
Really,
you
I would say more like stuck up Europeans. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, we see we can shit in our own toilet, so we just don't shit on other people's toilets. So
Well, I look at it like this, like like apparently that particular land was helped built by the elves, on Numenor or whatever how you pronounce it, and because like human beings are not eternal like elves are, they've kind of a lot of the history has been modeled up, and they don't really understand you know the effort given to them by the elves. So when they see an elf person, they almost feel threatened by them. Are they trying to reclaim the land? Yada yada.
yeah,
All of that. And at the same time, she's the only elf there, and so she's
and they
probably
found
probably
her on
feeling
a
yeah,
destroyed raft,
yeah,
like. Uh,
she's feeling very vulnerable.
yeah, so it's and I understand her being a little bit defensive because that's kind of how they came off ish, but I still kind of feel like Galadriel was a bit aggressive for an elf, just like even in the predicament. Like, I mean, I don't want her. I didn't think she would be diplomatic, but at the same time, she was very aggressive. And I like the actress who plays Galadriel. I've liked her character up to this point. I just feel like it was a bit. I don't even want to say out of character, but it was a bit much. Is kind of the word that keeps coming to mind with me. Is like it's a bit much, when her and the queen or the lord or whatever of that island was talking. It just seemed like she was, they were intentionally butting heads to manufacture tension there. Where I mean, I can understand where like if they had the queen, I don't know what she's called there, the lord, the queen, um, if they had her kind of being very apprehensive and then Galadriel kind of went into being a little bit more bullheaded, but it seemed like it just started that way, and it almost was like I don't know, it kind of felt left field to me, but I mean, I don't know. There might be history there. I mean, there is history there that I'm not 100% familiar with, but yeah,
Well,
that island is definitely like I think the
apparently Elrond
humans.
helped build that island. Help with the construction of it, which because Elrond's in their history books. I believe when you saw pictures of like their past, paintings and stuff like that. So when she was in that map room, with
Mhm.
Illustra's father, whose name I'm trying to quickly look for now, because obviously he's going to last the test of time as well. Um, Regardless, I can't see him at this particular moment. But yes, what I'm finding interesting now is that Mordor and Gondor, they're two areas that sound almost the same. They're a little bit different. There's a relationship there. Miras Tirith and I think it's Mirith Orgol, which are the twin cities.
Yeah.
Like Mirith Orgol was the place where the green light came out, and then Frodo and Sam and Smeagol, they went up the secret path and they avoided
Yeah.
it as the army came out of that building. And obviously we know
Mhm.
Miras Tirith from yeah. So all of that. So like there's some sort of like connection there, and it'll be interesting to see how they create that, how they create Miras Tirith, if this particular person, the father of Isildur, becomes the new king of Gondor and all of that. And then there's the tree as well, which they'll have to deal with. It's just there's so much they have to sort of like write in and carve and
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I'm saying
yeah,
like 5 seasons is I mean, we have 5. I think they have this mapped out for 5 seasons. Like it's all mapped out. I'm assuming this is like Babylon 5 where they've got the entirety of all 5 seasons mapped out. And so I feel like they're gonna like the last season will probably be more of the fight, like
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
battle for Middle Earth part.
It's just that within those 5 seasons, like some of these things, like Mirror Turf is built from a mountain. They
Mhm.
basically chiseled a fucking mountain on the outside and turned it into. Turning mountains into cities is quite a common thing in Middle Earth, But
Mhm.
still, are we going to see the construction of that? And all of that, because that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, like them actually building that. And in this particular case, they would have to do it in the lifetime of Isildur. Like building a fucking mountain into a city would feel like it would take several lifetimes. We're talking about pre-industrial age with just a fucking hammer and chisel. Like
I mean, but it goes back to the Egyptians. It's kind of like it depends on how many people you have doing it. Like, like, I mean, back in the Egyptian times, I mean, yeah, they had millions of slaves doing, building pyramids and stuff like that. So it just, I mean, I see where you're coming at. Like, I agree with you. It's kind of, are you sure it's built into the mountain or if it's just more built on a mountain?
Well, the way it was portrayed, I mean, like different portrayals, like in Peter Jackson's Return of the King, when you see it properly, there is a glimpse of it in Fellowship of the Ring, but when you see it properly in Return of the King, it is part of the mountain. Um, even Helm's Deep is part of a cliff. It's all built into it and stuff like that. Khazad Dûm is inside the mountain. The Lonely Mountain as well from The Hobbit. That it's all inside the mountain. And like when we saw when they I forgot the name of the bloody city now. Let me remind myself. Noria, Numenor. Like we saw so many statues chiseled out of the mountain and out of the
Yeah.
rocks. It was amazing. So just to see some of the construction of that for me would be very interesting. Like seeing the early stages of them developing that, I find quite fascinating. But regarding Galadriel's time in Numenor, it was interesting. But it's not just her time as well. It was also Halbrand. A lot of people are thinking that he's Sauron in disguise, but I'm not so sure. He seems to be a bit more of a pickpocket and somebody who steals to survive and basically lives off his wits. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying not to make any guesses at this point. I mean, he's like, because you saw for a moment that they're definitely teasing. They're trying to tease that everybody could be Sauron except for obviously Galadriel and like a lot of the legacy characters. Because you saw the moment right before he was going to fight them, like it almost looked like he was going to like do a Moon Knight and like black out and then like you know beat the ever loving shit out of him, which he kind of did.
Yeah,
But
he fucked them up, man.
yeah. So I mean it's almost like I mean like is this something where it's like he is Sauron and he doesn't know it? And then like when he blacks out he just kind of does the thing, or is it the kid? Is it somebody like that? I don't know. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking regarding Isildur, like, is this the Isildur, or is it just maybe somebody who happens to have the same name, and maybe he's a descendant of Isildur who has the same name as him? You know,
Mm, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think this all takes place relatively close to the events, like within a human lifetime of the events of uh
Elendil, by the way, Elendil is the name of Isildur's father.
yeah, I can't keep track of some of the names.
Yeah, yeah.
Elendil. Yeah, I don't
Uh,
I'd say it
Apolo-
wrong, but
Apologize about my flying birds. I do apologize.
I don't know. I mean, but then again, you're right. I mean, Elrond obviously looks a lot different right now. He looks a lot younger. So I mean, is that just going to be like kind of like but if this is within a human lifetime, is it just going to be retcon that instead of Hugo Weaving, it's going to be this, this other actor? Which is fine. I honestly don't mind. I always thought it was really weird that, and I know that elves are eternal, but it's like over what 1,000 years, 10,000. How long? I don't remember how long it was between the battle and Lord of the
No,
Rings.
I'm fine with, like, even if it's supposed to represent like a prequel to Peter Jackson's trilogy, I'm okay if he still somehow ends up playing the Hugo Weaving role
Hmm.
further down the line without him being Hugo Weaving. I'm totally fine with that because obviously Hugo Weaving is now,
Much older.
unless it's just too old and
Yeah.
they have to
No, no,
do the
no. I
body
agree.
aging
But
and all
that's
that sort of stuff. Yeah,
so. But I'm assuming this series takes place within a human lifetime of the Battle of Middle Earth. So I
the one at
mean,
the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, you mean?
yes. Yeah. Not
Just,
the Battle of Minas Tirith, which is the, you know,
or
not
maybe Minas Tirith is being built. It's already being built, and
I was gonna say I don't I
oh,
think maybe it is. I mean, maybe that'll be one of the not like the cliffhangers, but like one of the tags or something like at the end of one of the seasons. Like they'll pan over and then you'll see like Minas Tirith being built along the mountain. But it's already underway.
yeah, exactly. I mean, just like the naming as well, like Gondor, Mordor, like those sort of things. These things need to be explained why they got similar sounding names, and is one supposed to be good, one supposed to be evil. Like, there's dark and light cities and all of that. There's so
Gondor
much, and
stands for good. and Mordor stands for massively bad.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
And obviously the Black City and the White City and all of that. There's and if this is the original Isildur, like how does he get all these people to be loyal to him? Do they leave? Oh my god, the name of the city escapes me again. Numenor, sorry, and they leave that city, and which is a paradise, by the way. Would they leave that just to go to Middle Earth? It just seems a bit weird. All
Unless something
yeah,
forces, unless events that are happening force them to migrate. Maybe
fair
that's
enough.
why we're here. Maybe something happens, and you know, I mean, because Galadriel's been trying to track down Sauron, then maybe maybe that brings the ire of Sauron to that island, which I can never remember the name, and
Numenor, Numenor.
Numenor, yeah. Maybe that brings the ire of Sauron there, and then Sauron attacks and destroys the whole island. I mean, or maybe because the pickpocket guy is there, and maybe, as I said, maybe he's Sauron
or a scout,
or a scout, and like it's like maybe I don't know if Sauron maybe knows about this island and decides to destroy it. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of up in the air right now. I'm definitely more on board with the show this week than I was in the first episode. The first episode was a bit of a slog. Second episode got better. This episode, to me, felt a lot more organic. Now that we're through a lot of the first age lore building, because the first episode did a lot of heavy lifting for the first age, because they couldn't do a lot with it. Now that then the second episode kind of delved us into and the end of the first episode delved us into the second age, and now we're like rooted in the second age. Now that we've got the orcs in here and like the story starting to kind of unfold a little bit, so I'm definitely getting more into it now that we're here in this third, because this third episode is definitely more organic than the first two, in my opinion.
Before I move on to Halbrand, I just want to quickly say that I don't expect everything to be answered immediately, not even next episode or the episode after that, let alone this season. But I can't help but think of how things are going to be pieced together and what's Galadriel's next step of getting. But she obviously wants to get back to Middle Earth. This is a bump in the road, so to speak. Also, it's funny how she complained that she'll have to wait a couple of days. A couple of days should feel like a couple of seconds for her. But regardless,
I feel like that just goes back to how laser focused she is on finding and killing Sauron.
Yeah, exactly. Now to Halbrand. Now he likes this area. He likes the city. Now people have to wear a crest on their shoulders, don't they? And I noticed that if you watch the replay of it, but I saw it on heavy spoilers. He actually pickpockets the guy. He takes the seal off him. And as he's trying to make friends, I was thinking to myself, how's he able to buy everyone drinks? He's a guy who's like, he's a guy who's like a washed on the ocean from the ocean. How did he have any money and all of that, which was a bit weird? But then he beats the fuck out of everyone. He seems like he wants to stay on this island. I'm not sure if he'll still stick with Galadriel or not. But I think we'll be following his adventures as well if he doesn't stick with Galadriel. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be along for the whole ride. If they leave the island before the end of the season, which I'm assuming they will, he'll definitely be with her. I mean, especially now. I mean, he just beat the fuck out of 4 guys, and wound up in
King's
jail.
Guard, the King's Guard threw him in jail. So yeah, he'll probably, even though he had dreams of staying on that island, he probably realized, I need to get the fuck out of here. And Galadriel could be his ticket the way out. I want to go on to the Half-Foots now.
Mm-hmm.
Because Nori's dad hurt his leg, and these people are travelers. They move from location to location. It's funny in the way, like they talk about unifying and staying together, but if you can't move, we'll leave you behind, which seems a bit weird. Like surely you're able to carry. You have enough of a community where you can carry somebody who's helping somebody who's injured. That's the whole point of a community, and it just felt a bit strange. It was very hard to understand it. 1 minute we're together, and next minute we'll leave you the fuck alone. I was finding it very hard to.
It's almost like a religion, and I mean, the problems that stem from that. I mean, they're so rooted, and you can tell they're so rooted in these beliefs that they're just going to, they have to follow the trail or the path or whatever, no matter what. And it's just like, we have to remember the people that were left behind. And it's like, it's kind of an allegory on like religion and all that. And it's just like, oh God, like I understand where they're going with it, but it is kind of cringe in my opinion.
Felt like memorials, and stuff like that, remembering the past and all of that. But these are people
Yeah.
they left behind, which they didn't have to leave behind. We saw an interesting scene where Nori is trying to take some like a book or a map from the Grand Harfoot's place, and I like the way her friend Poppy would use the word right in
Yeah.
sentences, but say it in the alternative manner, and same with the word left. Say it in the alternative manner, like left behind or right over there. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
It was
yeah,
cute. I liked it.
but eventually, whoever this mysterious man is, I'm not now going on to the side that he is a wizard, an early wizard. I don't think he's necessarily Gandalf, but
No, I don't think he's Gandalf either. I think he's one of the early because Gandalf was never one of the early wizards that came. He was actually one of the later ones.
yeah,
Um,
he's down the pecking order. Like he's Gandalf the Grey. Like Saruman the White is like the top tier,
mhm.
and
But even
if
he, as I
anything,
said,
yeah,
even he's relatively, if I remember right, he's relatively young compared to because there's another mage that's like the brown. I can't remember his
right,
name.
Radagast the Brown, and then
Yeah.
there's two blue wizards
Yeah. I
as
think
well.
Radagast is like another one that's not, but I mean, it
He
might be
doesn't
some of
come
the blue
across as
wizards, or it might be
Radagast.
someone even more ancient than them.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a predecessor.
Yeah.
You know,
Because I
so
don't think it's stated on the blue, and I'd have to look this up, but I don't think the blue wizards are specifically said to be the first ones to come to Middle Earth.
okay. Well, we see the strangers. I'll call him from now. He sneaks into the Halfwoods village as they're doing their ceremonial memorial bullshit, and he's looking at these papers, and I knew the paper would catch on fire.
Yeah,
He's so
right. For
fucking
how
close.
close he
Yeah,
was sitting, I'm like, dude, that's gonna
yeah.
catch on fire. Like,
And then, but then again, with him, fire doesn't necessarily burn, so he was kind of surprised this one did. But it did burn, and then he reveals himself to all the Halfwoods, and I think he says the name Nori, which obviously then puts Nori in shit. And she doesn't like put Poppy in shit. She takes all the blame for herself. But yeah, they've been discovered. The first non Halfwood has discovered them, and he's probably an extraterrestrial as well in the Stranger. And yeah,
more of
so
a
like them,
demigod, but yeah, extraterrestrial.
but because of what Nori did, her caravan are now at the back of the trailer movement and all of that, which means that they could get lost, if they don't catch up and stuff like
Which
that.
is that's another thing I just didn't understand. I'm like, I get punishing them, but it's just like, why? Like, he's injured. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like they wanted to put him in the back because they knew his ankle was tender. You
Mm.
know what I mean? So it's like, that's another thing that I'm just like, do you hate them that much? Like,
Yeah.
like it's almost
Exactly.
like they are. It's almost like, well, we won't kill them directly, but we'll put them in the back. And honestly, who knows? The people that fall behind, they don't necessarily have to be dead. They could have just survived somewhere else. Like, or I wouldn't be surprised if we find like a village of halfwoods that just decided to plant roots. That's the other thing that I was going to bring up is about the halfwoods is, um, uh, does their trail keep moving, or is there a certain path they always go on? Like that,
I
I
don't
couldn't
know.
figure out.
I generally don't know, but I think it's to do with them not being discovered, and maybe to do with the food they forage as well. They are basically the gypsies of this universe. You know,
Yeah,
um, so
and
they're on their caravans. They keep moving, live off the land, all of that.
yeah, because I'm trying to figure out where does it state where, and I didn't see where but does it state where the halfwoods are in Middle Earth? Are they like in the Southlands, or are they?
Oh, they briefly mentioned last week, but I don't know exactly where they are. But I don't think it's. I don't think. I think it might be further north. I mean, that's just a
Okay,
guess.
because I don't think it's in the Shire. Like, what will be the Shire?
Well, it hasn't been recognized as the Shire yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what will be
Yeah.
the Shire? I don't think it's that far up north and west, because the Shire is
Mm.
very far northwest of everything. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
I mean,
But it's not so far north that it's cold, So
yeah,
because but it seems to remember like it's really hard to understand what's going on because a lot of this stuff is they're playing very loose with Tolkien's lore. They really are. They really the fuck are. So a lot of stuff they're winging it and they're making them up themselves and they're trying to intertwine it with Tolkien's lore. But we'll see how things pan out in future episodes. And on to the elves. Arondir and his crew. When we see him obviously getting captured at the end of episode 2 by those hands. Initially, some people were speculating it could have been the Ents who captured him or saved him, but it wasn't. It was orcs, and we see him obviously being disorientated when he's there. And the orcs, they don't like sunlight, so you can see they've got all these um, tents and hammocks and whatever above their heads to shield them from the light. But they are building a trench, and he comes across some of his elven friends, and I knew they were going to devise an escape because it seemed to me, look, you got some things going for you. They don't like sunlight. Take that to your advantage. Use that somehow. Um, and they kind of did, and I like the way that when they were breaking the chain, they were like doing it in, you know, different patterns of hitting the chains with the hammer. I'll take a strike, you take a strike, now you take a strike, and I'll take a strike. Like that. It was pretty cool. But it was basically the Great Escape section of the episode.
mhm.
Um, and there was this big tree as well, which Aaron didn't want to chop off because this tree's it's got a lot of history and stuff like that, and you can tell, when you see the rest of the lands, how much is destroyed. There should be a volcano around there theoretically, but there isn't.
Theoretic well, but who knows if that's not created because of all the mining they do and stuff like like who because they do mention in Lord of the Rings about them digging so far, and I wonder if that's what creates Mount Dune. Like I wonder if it's a mountain
Yeah,
right now, but then something that they do kind of turns it into a volcano or something like that. So, or it comes out of the
good.
ground or
Yeah,
whatever kind of magic bullshit we got going on.
because they basically absorb the earth of all its resources and everything and drain it dry, which kind of
Hmm.
what Mordor is. I mean, in a way, we should see possibly the spiders and Shelob and all of that. But Shelob is an ancient creature as well. She's been around for thousands of years as well. So there's just so much still to come from all of this. But regarding the escape, I knew that was on the cards, and it initially kind of began with them being given water, and I knew that something sinister was going to come from this. There's no such thing as a nice goblin, and then boom, he cuts the throat of one of Arondir's friends, and then the escape is on because they're really pissed. And one person tries to escape initially, a human, he gets initially getting killed, but when the Arondir's other friend escapes and he runs off, he gets shot by some archers. So the orcs have got archers in the woods somewhere, probably in shelter. So if you think about it, they can quite easily escape if they do break out of their chain. So they have to have some archers in the woods, which is what killed his Arondir's friend. And Arondir eventually gets captured, and then we see the person who's named after this episode, appear, but we don't see his face because we see it from the perspective of Arondir, who's now semi-conscious again, so the face is blurred. But Adar, so they call this episode Adar, and we don't fucking see Adar.
Yeah, I was
What was
about
the
to
point?
say.
Why the fuck did you call this episode Adar? You should have called this episode Numenor. You know what I mean? That would have been a better episode of this name. So but nevertheless, I think what rumors I've heard about Adar is that he's a fallen elf. He's an elf who now works for the enemy. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I'm wondering regarding timelines. Are we all in the same timeline here? Like, they're the different stories. Are they different timelines? You know, like is Arendor's timeline different to Isildur's and Galadriel's timeline? Are we on different lengths here and stuff like that?
I hope not, because that's
So,
some witch. That's like Witcher
The
season
Witcher,
one levels
yeah,
of bullshit. Like I don't
yeah.
want different timelines and stuff like that. Like I want this all to be happening concurrently to keep track of what's going on. I don't want to have to do time jumping shenanigans. I did actually pull up a map if you want me to bring it up really quick of just where things
Please
are
do,
happening. Hmm?
please do,
Okay.
please do.
Here we go. So right here. So I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit if I can. So it looks like actually the halfling or half foots are just north of what's going on in the Southland. So they're actually out here.
Okay,
So obviously Khazad-dûm is right here in the mountains by Moria. Um, Linden. What was going on in Linden? I don't remember what that one was.
I don't remember either.
And then Elrond or Aragon is obviously up here by Rivendell. And then in the beginning, up in the north is where Galadriel was in the very beginning. That obviously
Okay,
those northern areas. But yeah, so apparently, yeah, the Hobbit stuff is happening. So it's nowhere near the Shire because you can see in blue here. This is where these places actually are. In Lord of the Rings time. I think is that what the yeah, because there's Rohan, Gondor, Mount Doom is up here, Minas Tirith is down here at the. So, I mean, so you can kind of see in a comparison. So Hobbiton's way up here. So eventually, the Half-Foots are going to have to migrate up to the northwest. So
yeah, yeah.
past the
We go through.
mountains.
Yeah, go either over the mountains or through the mountains. Um, there's Isengard there as well. But how much of this is like today's map compared to the future map? If you know what I mean.
Well,
Like this,
I
yeah.
think this is a future map. It's just got they're pinpointing locations that are going because look, here's Mordor already, right here. And then they have Hobbiton up here, and then Rivendell they have marked, which it's not. I don't think it's actually called Rivendell yet. Have they? I don't think they've mentioned it as Rivendell.
And
So
by the way, looking at the map there, it looks like that, the same sort of like symbol which
hmm
Gladriel saw in this episode, saying
yeah,
it.
the
This
sigil.
is this is yeah, this isn't a sigil. This is a map. She said, and wow, there's a lot. It's good to see east of Mordor as well. I've always wondered, like, because the lands even then, even now, like the lands still go further east than just those mountains there on the right. So it'll be interesting to see how big this world is.
Well, and
But
plus
yeah,
the Hobbit
yeah.
went further east than I mean, even in Lord of the Rings because um there's the Lonely Mountain. So, and I'm not as familiar with the Hobbit, but it's like, the Hobbit basically went from Hobbiton all the way through, past the Lonely Mountain, and what I'm trying to remember. Did they come south here to Rune, or was it? But yeah, I mean,
Oh,
so
Lake Town would be near there as well, near
yeah,
the
I
Lonely
think Lake
Mountain.
Town's right around there. So
No, it's right on the cusp of the Lonely Mountain because you could see the mountain from Lake Town.
no, okay, so yeah, so as I said, I'm not as
Remember,
familiar with the
remember,
Hobbit.
what was the name of the dragon? Smaug. He came from the mountain and started burning up fucking Lake Town immediately.
Yeah,
And there's
so
a
probably
little,
right. Yeah, so I mean that this was probably the Hobbit's journey. So I mean, but yeah, I mean you can kind of see in relation to Lord of the Rings movies stuff what's going on, and it's as I said, it's kind of odd that the Half-Foots are all the way down
yeah.
here close to Mordor. It just makes me wonder if the elves will have a hand or the humans will have a hand in relocating the hobbits because that's a huge distance, because it took
That is
Sam and
massive.
Frodo what was it? 16 months, they said? 14
Well,
months to
it took him like 16 to 18 months to go there and back again. Um, Yeah, but yeah, well, for hobbits, yeah, it would take them. So it would for these half-foots, it'll take them a while, and they are slower because they're part of a group,
yeah. I mean,
and
maybe as I say,
yeah.
maybe they'll eventually I mean, after maybe all the like hundreds of years they'll migrate all the way up here to Hobbiton, but it just makes me wonder in this series if we're going to see like Mordor kind of, crossing over with the Half-Foots and like
Oh,
maybe the elves or the humans try to save the Half-Foots.
they'll go through. They don't have to necessarily go through the mountains. They could go through the Gap of Rohan
Yeah,
and
they
all of
could.
it.
You're
Yeah,
right.
and that way, so
Yeah, they
it's a
could come
longer
down
way.
through here and up.
Yeah. So yeah, but this is pretty cool. Seeing all of this. Fascinating. I mean, there's a little town called Dale as well, which is abandoned, which was near the Lonely Mountain too, just
Hmm.
outside the Lonely Mountain. Yeah, there's yeah, amazing. I love it. There's so there's a lot of mountains in in Middle Earth, isn't there?
Yep.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so I think we pretty much covered everything. Looking forward to episode 4. I think I'm starting to get on board with this show. I did enjoy this episode. It was pretty good. You know, I don't expect Rome to be built in a day, but I'm happy to be on board. I'm gonna give it a mark. I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give it a decent mark actually, maybe more better than it deserves, but regardless, 8 out of 10. How
I
about yourself?
8 out of 10. That's where I was gonna. That's where I was gonna go.
Fantastic. So I look
It
forward
sounds like
to
recently I've just been copying you, so
yeah, we should start twerking together as well.
Yeah, friends that work together, twerk together, baby.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so okay, so keep an eye out for more stuff from NerdTube. Obviously, I don't know when this is coming out, but if you've already seen this, then you know that we'll be talking Assassin's Creed. And if you've not seen the live show, then you obviously see it recorded here at NerdTube, as well as future stuff coming out here on NerdTube as well. D23, as well as She-Hulk, Star Trek, Lower Decks, as and various other stuff. And I think Andor will be coming out soon by the feels of things.
I think is it towards the end of this month, or I thought it was towards the end of this month. But yeah, it's
Oh,
coming soon. I mean, at
they
least a
keep the
couple
bloody
weeks.
delaying it. It was supposed to come out on the 31st of August, and now they pushed it back. You know, so but I don't mind to tell you the truth. We've got a lot on our plate. So and I just finished watching Cobra Kai as well, and I tried to get a review for that for you guys as soon as possible as well. So, all right, I think we're done here. Thank you
So
very
much
much for
shit.
yeah, so much, yeah, so much. I'm swimming in it, you know. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Bye bye.